Joining us now is Congressman Matt Gaetz. That clip went viral yesterday. Matt, expand and elaborate on that. Are you saying that you are prepared to put forward a motion to vacate against Speaker McCarthy? Matt Gaetz, the floor is yours.
My preference would be that Kevin McCarthy come into compliance with the deal that we made in January. You and I had many discussions about that, Charlie, and when we finally had Kevin McCarthy as the speaker, you were one of the biggest champions of the deal that would have required single subject spending bills and votes on things like term limits and balanced budgets. But here we are in September, 8 months later, and the things that Kevin McCarthy promised have not occurred. So I've laid out the case as to the features of breach of the agreement. His option is to come into compliance or face a motion to vacate. It was somewhat troubling that he chose to respond to this by attacking me rather than just keeping his word. I'd prefer that the speaker keep his word, and I'm here to hold him to it.
So let's go through what the asks are. The position of this program, impeachment, not. I think it's fine. Not the highest priority, I'll be honest. I think Joe Biden's a traitor to the country. He should be in Gitmo. But he does deserve it, obviously. But I think 9:30, the September 30th deadline, is the most important thing happening. So Matt, balance this for us. Impeachment inquiry, we have 9:30. Have you seen any evidence that House leadership is moving in a way to satisfy your demands? Walk us through kind of the current state of affairs, especially in the last 24 hours, post the speech you gave yesterday.
It's been crickets. Matter of fact, they think they can just keep doing Washington as usual. And I've got news for them. That's not how it's going to go. We do have a defense spending bill that I'd like to see us take a vote on. That could be moving its way through the process today, ever so slowly. But Charlie, it's not like September 30th crept up on us. It's actually the same day every year. That's how calendars work. And the fact that we didn't move individual spending bills to actually go after the administrative state is our fault. It's the fault of our leadership. And frankly, it's my fault. I'm here in Congress. So I take ownership over the fact that we failed, but I've laid out what we have to do going forward. So far, they just want to keep spending at the highest levels. This government grew 40% during COVID when it comes to how much it spends. And when we just try to get a little bit of that reduced, people are acting like we're trying to, fundamentally reorient Washington, D.C. Now, again, I would like to fundamentally reorient Washington, D.C., but even the most modest of spending reductions are met with great resistance from even some big spending Republicans.
Did you say 40% that the government grew by 40%?
During COVID, from 2021 to 2023, government spending, federal government spending grew by 40%. So we can't keep doing this. We are going to be running $2 trillion annual deficits. That is impossible to sustain at a time when so many elements of the world are de-dollarizing, whether it's what we see with BRICS, whether you see the African Union moving to currency that is more central to the continent, whether it's Saudi Arabia and Iran making deals with China to sell more energy in the yuan. We cannot run $2 trillion annual deficits while the global economy is taking steps to de-dollarize.
Okay, so let's start to name names, though, Matt, because the stakes are too high. Who are the ones that are really getting in the way here? Who do we need to apply the most pressure on? Which Republicans are standing in the way to really get this done? Because you're right, 9:30 is by no mistake. Go ahead.
It's the Appropriations Committee. I mean, this is the job of the Appropriations Committee. When you're on the Appropriations Committee, usually you don't even serve on other committees because the work of the Appropriations Committee is deemed so important. So the chair of that committee is Kate Granger of Texas. The people who chair the subcommittees should have to answer for why their budgets weren't prepared. And a hero is Budget Chairman Jody Arrington. Jody Arrington is fighting like you wouldn't believe to get balanced budgets to the floor, but he's been bottled up by our own leadership because balanced budget votes are really hard now. Like the easy choices have passed long ago, and it's hard choices ahead for the country. Jody Arrington will make those choices, and we're working to get him unshackled, frankly, right now.
So heading into September 30th then, Matt, what would be a win? Right, because politics is the art of the possible. As much as I would like to see the Department of Education abolished, it's not going to happen this funding cycle. What are the priorities? What are the non-negotiables? And Matt, are we seeing some evidence that potentially leadership might try to do a deal with Democrats while turning the back on the Republican wing, the more let's say, conservative wing of the Republican caucus. Matt, walk us through all of this.
It would not surprise me if ultimately Kevin McCarthy does a deal with Democrats, because that's precisely what he did on the debt limit bill. I don't have to use imagination. I just have to look at the last time this guy needed to build a durable coalition, and it wasn't with House conservatives. It was with Hakeem Jeffries. So if that's the way the McCarthy speakership is going to go, I'm going to lead the resistance to the Biden, McCarthy, Hakeem Jeffries government. In terms of what a win looks like, we got to get spending to pre-COVID levels. It wasn't exactly like we had our fiscal house in order on government spending before COVID. So I want to roll back that top line. And then I don't think we should do a 1% cut across the board everywhere. Like, I don't want to cut veterans 1%. I probably don't want to cut defense at all. We need to be spending a great deal to protect our freedom. But I want to have deep vertical cuts in some areas. And yeah, you're right. That's going to take threatening shutdowns. I don't want to shut down, but I'm definitely willing to threaten one if that's what it takes to get us to the type of just modest government budgeting that is responsible.
So Matt, I lost you there for a second. But we got you back. So what do you say to the more moderate wing that say that Democrats would just blame us and politically it's a bad move?
Well, I mean, I'm just sorry, Charlie. We've got to be more patriotic than that. We cannot continue to drive this country in the ground with deficit spending, with inflationary spending that hurts us now and deficit spending that hurts future generations of Americans. We cannot do it. I don't care if it's a tough vote. I don't care if you don't want to take the vote. We absolutely have to go be judged by our constituents for the spending that we're willing to authorize and appropriate. And, you know, for those who claim those are tough decisions, I would suggest that there's a case to be made that Democrats have brought us to this point with their bad choices. And rather than just being Democrat light, we actually ought to demonstrate some boldness to the country that draws people in and helps us build broader coalitions.
1 minute remaining, Matt Gaetz. Timeline and action items. What can we expect in the next couple of weeks, and how can the audience support you? Timeline, action items, 1 minute remaining, Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, we need to get individual bills passed. I would love to see us pass the defense appropriations bill this week. But if by next week I am not seeing action from Kevin McCarthy to come into compliance with the deal he made in January, then I wouldn't bet against, next week or pretty soon thereafter, seeing motions to vacate the chair pretty regularly. That buzzing sound means they're calling us to votes, Charlie. But I think the coming weeks are going to be critical, not just for the internal intrigue of palace politics, but really for the nation. Like, if we can't get it together right now and reduce this inflationary spending, then what is the point of even having power?